I was beaten and all kinds of rocks and bottles thrown at me. And the interesting thing is that I heard the same kind of chants. Go home. You don't belong here. And they called us the N-word over and over and over again. When the president does these things, it brings up the same feelings that I had over 50-some years ago. And it's very, very painful.
Do you believe President Trump is a racist?
I believe he is, yes, no doubt about it.
House Oversight Committee Chair Elijah Cummings reflecting on his experience back in 1962 when he was trying to integrate a pool in Baltimore. Let's bring in MSNBC contributor Adrian Elrod, former director of strategic communications for the Clinton campaign, Democratic strategist Don Calloway, and former Nevada State GOP chairwoman Amy Tarkanian. Oh, look, all three of us back together again. Here we go. And Amy's in studio, so I'll start with you. Okay. I know, Amy, that you've been saying that you don't believe the president is a racist, but when you hear about personal experiences like that, don't you see how deeply people feel his words and that they may be perceived as racist? I mean, do you still disagree that he's not racist?
I do disagree. He is not a racist, but I do believe that he was not wise with his choice of words. And that happens actually quite often with him, unfortunately. I have been with him numerous times. I have been by his side of worship. I have had many conversations with him, and no, he is not a racist. But were those wise words? No, they definitely were not. And I don't minimize Representative Cummings' situation at all. And I'm sure that it did trigger those emotions, and I'm very sorry that they did. But I don't believe that was the president's intent.
Okay, well, Don clearly disagrees with you. You should have seen his face. He was sort of thinking, oh, here we go. Don, I'm going to ask you to respond to that, in addition to respond to the Washington Post, which is out with a new report that says that the president had openly discussed going after the 4 progressive congresswomen before sending out those tweets, saying that he wants to elevate those 4 and telling advisors they were good foils. Yeah. So, in response to what you think Amy said is one thing, but do you think that he fully understood what he was doing? Or do you think this backlash has caught him by surprise over this last week?
I'm not one to ascribe strategy to this president where it's clear that he's not a very deep thinker. But he is, however, in campaign mode, and I see this as a good campaign device for him to gin up his base, who is fueled by the xenophobia and race-based hatred. I see this as an early proxy for what he will probably intend to do in terms of otherizing and isolating Kamala Harris should she get the nomination next fall. This is just the shoot-around or the warm-up for that, if you will. I mean, we got to reach a point where thinking adults realize that just because you're not wearing a white hood and have a swastika tattoo on your forehead, you can still be a racist. There's really no question remaining in the minds of reasonable individuals that this president is a racist. And it doesn't just start with this tenure as president. You've got the Central Park 5 issue. You've got the DOJ citing the Trump companies for several years of intentionally keeping black people out of his buildings, housing discrimination. You've got the birtherism, which he led, which is flat out racist. There's no real discussion anymore that he's not racist. And, I have a hard time, like we just went through the Me Too stuff, I have a hard time that this or that person is not sexist, because it's not my position to say what's sexist. As a woman, women are in position to feel and feel the existential pressure and threat so they can determine what's sexist and what's not, much in a way that people of color can feel when something is racist. And it's just, you don't see any people of color saying, no, he's not a racist, because we know it. We know it when we see it, and it doesn't take a whole lot of, I don't really know what else to say, but only certain white folks are saying he's not racist, and unfortunately it breaks down on partisan lines.
Well, I have to give Amy a chance to respond very quickly before I bring you in Adrian, because Adrian, she's shaking her head, so go ahead.
Well, as far as the tweet being construed as racist, he didn't discuss race or color. These 4 women just happened to be women of color with different ethnicity backgrounds. There was not a white female or a white male who participated in this, but nothing in his tweet had anything to do with racism. It had everything to do with questioning their patriotism and the fact that they have made anti-Semitic and anti-American comments, period.
So that means that, Amy, you are ascribing the president a very analytical, thought process into what those tweets were. You think that he thought about this and analyzed and wanted to make sure he wasn't using verbiage that would be received as racist, rather?
Well, they definitely were not racist comments, but was the tweet well thought out overall? No. I cannot support that that scenario. That's just a fact. I think, once again, just like Don said, any rational person cannot fully support the way that that was thought out. This individual, who is our president, I think would work best with a "Are you sure?" button on the tweet before he presses send.
Look, Adrian, I want to get your thoughts on all this and hopefully get a soundbite from Steve Bullock to react to, but go ahead.
Yeah, look, Alex, of course he's racist. We saw this during the 2015-2016 presidential campaign. The entire time he's been in the White House. Not only is he racist, he's a misogynist, he's xenophobic, and this is the exact strategy that he's employing in order to try to win re-election. He's doubling down on his base. He's not trying to do anything to move independent voters. And we have to also keep in mind, Alex, the reason why we are talking about this today, the reason why he keeps sending out these tweets in part is because his ICE raids 2 weekends ago failed. And he started doing these tweets to try to distract his base from the fact that the ICE raids failed, which is the #1 issue to his base, immigration. So this is exactly what he wants us to be doing. He wants us to be going on television and letting this drive the news to distract from the real problems that are happening. Of course, Mueller is testifying on Wednesday. He doesn't want his base to remember that. And we're falling right into his hands, frankly.
Okay, well, I don't think we will be on Wednesday. That much I can guarantee. We'll be all Mueller all the time, that's for sure. Listen, no time for the Steve Bullock soundbite, but I do have time to say thank you to all three of you. And I know